Hello, I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
Welcome to the Sonic Boomers Podcast. This is program number 91, which means
There are 90 others that you can choose from.
that's right. And if you haven't heard it before,
It's new to you.
and you can hear our audio version of this podcast anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and iHeart and Alexa, and we're on all of them. And you can also watch us on YouTube this week and Facebook. Okay. Episode number 90 is only available on the Facebook platform because we got kicked off YouTube last week.
And we got sent to the principal's
We were sent to the
office.
principal's office. Mr. Melman had to come in and speak to the two of us. And they actually pulled the podcast last week, and we appealed it, and they pulled it anyway. So if you want to hear what didn't go up, just go to Facebook, and it's there. And honest to God, we don't think that we did anything objectionable on the show.
But let's not get into it because they might pull this one now too.
Yeah. We had only one complaint. Mm-hmm. We had only one complaint come in on over 225 views.
Right.
We had one complaint, so we're not going to worry too much
And
about
that
that.
one, I'm doubtful if it's even a real
It
person.
was a hit and run complaint. It was somebody just said,
You suck.
Do you judge everybody? You have a garbage podcast or something.
Yeah.
She said, and that
But I just looking that person up, I think it's a fake.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is, but I'm not going to lose any sleep about it. Hey, we were looking through the, believe it or not, Reader's Digest. To be honest with you, I didn't even know that they had Reader's Digest anymore.
I know this came in the mail as a solicitation for you to take out a
To
subscription.
the guy that used to live here,
Yeah.
who's out of here now for 2 years.
Yeah.
And change. And we're still getting his mail. And so this Reader's Digest came in. Reader's Digest is still, believe it or not, the 8th most read magazine in the United States.
Okay.
It was number one for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was a kid.
You can remember back that far?
Oh, that's
Of course,
cute.
they
That's cute.
were on stone tablets back then.
Yeah, it was right. It was in cuneiform. My mom used to get it. Mm-hmm. And there was one article in there I remember called Terror on the 79th Floor. And it was about the day that I think it was a B-52 or a B-59 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building in the 1940s. And it was a pretty graphic depiction of what had happened. Then there was another one that I read, and I remember the title to this day. It was called I Am Joe's Man Gland.
Okay.
And it was, this is like, 1960s language. And it talked about the prostate gland and the purpose that it serves.
If I remember right, I think there was a series of ones. It's I am Joe's
Joe's
or I am
this.
Jill's, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they would feature a specific body part and tell you about its workings and, what it does for you, what diseases may come from it or, whatever. But I remember that being a regular feature column.
Or as you get older, what it used to do for you and doesn't do anymore. But anyway, we were flipping through the Reader's Digest just for ha-has. And, I got to say, it's still a good little magazine.
It is. Although they cheapened it. It's much smaller than it used to be.
It's smaller. I think it's on a cheaper stock.
It's on a cheaper stock. It's not as thick as it used to be. But I was so pleased to see that it still had a lot of my favorites. I used to love all the jokes.
Yeah, humor in uniform.
Whatever. I can't remember.
Laughter, the best medicine.
Right. Life in these United States.
Life in these United States. And they're all still in there.
And they're all in there. And I was like, it was kind of like For me, it was kind of heartwarming to see that.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. It was something from my childhood.
It's
and
one of those
reading
things
it-
where you can go home again.
Yeah, but when I saw it, it just brought back like you said, certain articles that you read that you remembered, and
Yeah.
some little happy memories. It was a nice experience.
Yeah, this is what it looks like today. So a little smaller. I really do think it's a different grade stock, but
It definitely is. Yeah.
while we were flipping through it, we came across this article, and we're talking about the March-April 2022 edition of RD, as we in the know call it. And the article is called Know How Much to Tip by Charles Hilton Anderson.
And that's always a tricky thing because certain things are a given. When you're going to a restaurant, you're going to tip your waiter.
Yeah.
When you go to a bar, you're going to tip the bartender, your server. But some of the other things are a little bit more unsure, and the norms have changed, especially with the pandemic. Certain things that maybe you didn't have to tip before, maybe now you probably should think about it because these people are really hitting hard times because of the lack of customers, the lack of maybe many businesses had to close down for a while and quarantines and such has really changed the playing ground.
They say a good rule of thumb today is give more if you can. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people don't realize that tips are often divided between all of the workers in a store or in a restaurant or in a diner, not just those who interact directly with customers. Mm-hmm. So, if you're talking about a diner or a restaurant, think not just your server, but busboys, cooks, dishwashers, hosts, hostesses. So you should try to tip as good as you possibly can.
And I think that always should be, be generous. I mean, these people are really working hard.
And working really hard.
Under
and,
bad circumstances a lot
and
of
they
times.
don't make, I was in one of the local diners here, and I had asked the waitress, so how much do they pay you? And it was, she
believe
said,
you asked.
I did.
I know.
And she said $2 an hour. $2 an hour plus tips. And of course, the last year and a half, 2 years, business was really down.
Right.
And so she'd say, like, I'd put in an 8-hour day and I'd get, $16 and whatever I made in tips, which was hardly anything because nobody's coming in.
Right.
And those that are coming in aren't tipping well at all. So it is really important that you tip because a lot of these folks, this is their sole income. And for others, they're working that as maybe a second or a third job to augment their income. So you do want to be generous. And even if the owner of the establishment is your server, which very often is the case, a lot of people think, well, if he owns the diner, if he owns the restaurant,
that used to be kind of a thing that
I shouldn't tip him because obviously he's got money if he can own this.
Well, it wasn't always that he had money. That was kind of the etiquette, was you don't tip the owner. It's almost an insult to the owner to tip them. But that has changed.
Yeah, they tell you now, tip them the same that you would tip anybody else.
And I remember, too, hair salons, I remember them saying if the owner does your hair, you're already paying more to have him or her, so you don't need to tip. But I believe that's changed now too. But we'll get into all the specifics later on.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to do also is if the service was like really good, I'll leave a little note.
Yes.
On the tab,
right.
On the check. Thank you for a great meal. Thank you for being so attentive or nice. I'll say something nice.
And that costs nothing.
And to me, what's really important is not just good service and good food, breezy banter. I'm big on the breezy banter.
I know.
There's that whole episode on Seinfeld where George Costanza was like, "Where's the breezy banter?" I came in, she's like, "What do you have? What are you getting? What there used to be breezy banter. Now there's no more breezy banter." and I know a lot of people will say, well,
A lot of people
I
don't
don't want to
want that.
talk. I want to come in. I want to eat my pork roll and be out of there in half an hour.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me. No, I want to talk to people. I want to talk to.
That makes it challenging, though, for the server to ascertain:
Yeah.
are you a banter person or are you an anti-bant? You know?
Yeah. Like the one diner that I've been going to for a while now, they are just starting to know me. Because remember when I first started going there, I was like, the food's good, it's a nice diner, there's no breezy banter. Now I'm getting the breezy banter, which
Takes
makes
a
it
while to
even,
get to- yeah.
And that also, tip goes up a little bit more too for breezy banter. So the question is, how much do you tip these days? And the experts will tell you that for, let's say, restaurants and diners, always tip, whether you're eating in or getting takeout, because that's a whole nother paradigm now.
Yeah.
For a while you couldn't eat
Right.
in, so people were doing takeout or getting delivery. You always tip in any circumstance 15 to 20%, or that's if you're dining in, 15 to 20% if you're dining in, 10 to 15% for takeout or delivery.
Now, see that I wouldn't have thought necessary, and I stand corrected, I guess. But I mean, to me, if you are just coming in and picking it up, I didn't think you really needed to tip that person.
But again, there's people in the background that are working
Right.
that are going to benefit from that tip. Again, the cook,
I don't know. I'm always
the bus boys that if they're
Yeah.
working, the dishwashers.
But how do you know that it's going to get to them?
Well, you really don't.
Yeah. So
You
I mean,
really
I
don't.
never would have tipped on something that I'm coming to pick up. Delivery, yes. If somebody's delivering to my home, they are out driving. They're taking time away from the restaurant. That I tip for. But if I'm taking out, I don't know.
It looks like I'm a big tipper
Yeah.
because I always tip 20%. And less if the service was poor or something. But I always tip 20% more for breezy banter or for an even better experience. And thank God that we're in the position now, you and I, where we can afford to tip 20% and better when it's appropriate. There were times when we were only doing like maybe 10, 15% tips when times were tougher for us.
Or we didn't go out at all.
Or we didn't go out at all for many years.
Yeah.
We never went out, and so I'm very happy to tip 20% to somebody or more, and I consider myself that I'm blessed to be able to do so. Bartenders, what do you tip a bartender? I had no clue because I don't go to bars.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured, 10% of the tab, 10 to 15% of the tab, or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's $2 per drink, or 10 to 15% of the total tab.
Yeah, I think the 10 to 15 of the total tab is more doable. I mean, the drinks nowadays cost a fortune as it is, and they add $2 to it. You could buy the whole bottle for that.
Right, so you go to Starbucks, right, and you get your mocha choco maca latte cappuccino.
shot of espresso.
Yeah. What do you tip your barista?
Well, again, if they're serving you, I don't know. They say $1 per drink.
Yeah, $1 per drink. More if it's a more complicated order.
Right. But again, like I don't know. Maybe I'm cheap, but to me, if I'm going up to the counter and all I'm doing is putting in an order and taking it out of their hand, I don't usually tip for that. As a matter of fact, I kind of think it's tacky though when they have the tip jar there. I don't know. Maybe I'm a cheapskate. I don't know.
You do squeak when you walk. You know that? You're so tight.
I mean, when I'm in a service-oriented thing,
I don't like the tip
absolutely
jar.
tip.
I don't like the tip jar
Yeah.
because I feel like, and what are you going to do? I guess, if you're going to tip somebody, leave a buck on the table or something. I don't know. But to me, the tip jar, it's kind of prodding a little bit. As the customer, I want to be the one to decide. I
yeah.
don't want to be prodded. Personal shoppers. Now, this is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
that you didn't have
I mean, only rich people had
10 years
personal
ago.
shoppers
You know,
years ago.
you have a personal shopper now who goes to the grocery and does your shopping. And now there's a lot of them don't even have the trucks anymore. Like I know we ordered something from Peapod, which was a Stop and Shop product,
Right.
and they don't have the Peapod anymore. They had
It's weird because I went on to Peapod.
another company.
I went on to
delivered.
Peapod and it said, "Oh, now you have to deal with Stop and Shop," so, which always makes sense because they were affiliated.
Yeah.
So I went on to Stop and Shop, compiled my order, and when it came time to the checkout, it put it into Instacart.
That's right, Instacart.
And Instacart apparently handles the delivery for a whole myriad of grocery chains, and you could have them directed to whomever you want. But at that point, I had already done the Stop and Shop, and it was fine. But what we really liked with that was the person that was actually going to be picking your order was in communication with you. And there were a couple
They don't
items.
have this. And they send you a picture
Right, there
of
was
the
a couple
substitute
items
item. Do you
that-
want? They don't have the 2 pounds of ground beef. We've got a 1 pound pack, and I'll buy 2. And she shows it to you on
Yeah.
the picture. And say, do you want this?
this.
And you can say yes or no.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
And then
It
at
was a
the end,
new
she says,
experience.
"Okay, I'm on my way. I'll see you in 10 minutes."
Yeah, and she pulled up in her own car.
Yeah.
And it worked fine. I mean,
I
I
like
really
it.
liked it a lot.
I like it.
So, so I definitely would tip her.
10 to
or
15%.
her or him.
Do it in the app. If you're not going to see the person face to face and you're using an app,
you
they
don't
say
know
put
if
it
you are.
put it on the app.
Yeah, I always put it on the app.
Yeah. So 10 to
do that.
15% on that. Home deliveries. Home deliveries, they recommend drinks or snacks, actually. And then money. And I think most of the delivery drivers that I can think of, if you gave them a snack or something, they'd probably throw it at you. They want money. Come on. Come
Well,
on. I think
it
money is the
depends.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes I think especially in the hot summer months, you have a cold bottle of water
Yeah.
that you can give them or something. I think they appreciate that, not in lieu of
Yeah.
the money, but it may be in addition to. Or I know, like the one year for Christmas, a lot of people were putting a basket on their porch and saying, with granola bars and
Yeah.
some cookies and things like that, and saying, we appreciate your service. Take some.
Okay.
Which it wasn't like an all the time thing, but it was like for special occasions.
Tip your delivery person $5 if they deliver to your home more than once a week, or if it's a large or heavy package.
The thing is, again, that's assuming you're going to interact with them and see them. Many times we go out, we don't even know that
And
the
the package is on your
came and it's
doorstep.
laying there.
Well, then I guess maybe that's where you put the little basket out with a snack or something.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave money out there. Furniture delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Now that can get pretty expensive.
Well, that again, what's hard with that is when you contract with the furniture store, they will charge you a delivery fee to bring it to you.
Yeah, but here's the deal.
And the people, I know
Don't assume
that goes to the guys.
that it goes, because it doesn't. It goes to just like if you order pizza,
Mm-hmm.
they say if there's a delivery fee, your driver doesn't see that.
Right.
The pizza place sees it.
Sees it.
You've got to tip the driver separately. So for a furniture delivery, they recommend $20
Mm-hmm.
or 15% of the price of the job.
Yeah, I usually judge it by how hard a job it was and how many guys there are. If you got like 3 or 4 guys, $20 is a little cheap. But if you got 3 or 4 guys, chances are they could do it in 5 minutes. So I don't know. But I usually try, like if I know I'm getting a big delivery like that, I usually keep a $20 bill on hand to give to them.
Now, is that $20 per guy on the job, or
No, I usually
$20
give
and
the
you
$20 for
divvy
the
it
head
up
guy and
amongst
let
you?
them- like I said, unless it was something like really involved, but most of the time it's not. And these guys, they have it down to such a science. They're in and out of your house in 10 minutes,
They may have it down to a science, but I don't think it makes it any more physically less taxing. Heavy's heavy. Bulky's bulky.
Yeah, but
Right?
if they're used to it, it's like if you were to start and lift 10 pounds a day and increase it every day for your whole life, by the time you were like 20 years old, you'd be lifting, 1,000-pound weight and not thinking anything of it. And I think with them, that their muscles are their physique enables them to do it fairly easily. It's daunting to us because we could never do that, but they can and they do, and that's their job. And I think that, you give them a little something, but you don't have to go overboard.
Okay.
You're right.
I'm not agreeing with you.
See, I know you're not.
Because
I always think
you're invoking the strong guy penalty here. I'm calling it the strong guy penalty.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just think that's,
I told you, she squeaks when she walks.
No, I just try to be, I try to be frugal with my money too, because my money is hard to come by, and I would believe in being generous. I don't like to be too skimpy, and I would never not tip, but I also think that there's a time when you could overdo it. You don't need to.
All right, moving on, shifting gears, as our governor likes to say. Flower delivery, $5 to $10, even, and I thought this was interesting, even if you are the recipient of the flowers.
Right. Well, I know that that's what you should do, but if you're not expecting them, you might not have it on hand. I don't always have money here at the house.
Especially since our printing press broke down in the basement, and we're not printing it here anymore.
Oh gosh, no, but I mean, like that's the tricky one with that is like if you don't know you're getting them, and maybe you go to your wallet and all you got is a $1 bill in there,
yeah.
Or maybe you got nothing.
Do you take credit?
I don't know.
But I was surprised that they said the recipient should also give a tip.
Well, they always do in the movies.
Do they?
When the guy brings the flowers.
That's
they
right.
always
That's
give him
right.
a little,
yeah.
Or the bellhop has his hand out,
Yeah. The guy
Especially in
shakes
those
it.
old movies.
Shakes his head. You want a tip? Poker chips in the third. Can do. All right. How about pet care providers? Dog walkers, groomers, pet sitters?
Yeah, I would say that you definitely would
10 to
tip them.
15%,
Yeah.
they say. But do not tip your veterinarian.
No, because you wouldn't tip your doctor.
Don't tip your vet tech either.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't tip a doctor, so you wouldn't tip your vet.
Okay. What about a driver? Uber, Lyft?
Yeah, I would think that you would put the tip in, but again, usually they don't deal with cash so much. So like usually,
Sometimes you can put it on the app.
You can always put it on the app.
Some of them are not supposed to accept cash tips,
Right.
And some of them will. Some of them prefer because again,
Well, I'm sure they all prefer it
everybody
because
prefers
it's
you don't have to report it.
you don't have to report it and it's cash in their hand. They don't
Yeah.
have to wait for a check to come. But Uber and Lyft, they don't want cash transactions happening because it leaves the driver open to being robbed.
Yeah.
And if people know that there's cash in the kitty, they could put them in danger and put you in danger as well. So I would just put it on the app and leave it at that.
Okay. And it says 15 to 20% for Uber, for Lyft, for Uber Eats. Mm-hmm. Our daughter was delivering for Uber Eats for a while, and in a good area, a good economic area, and she was lamenting about how cheap people were. Some didn't tip at all.
Right.
Some would tip you $1, couple of bucks. And come on, folks. Times are tough. Hairstylists, 15 to 20%.
Yeah.
And $5 to $10 to the shampooer.
Now that I don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
Now she's invoking the shampooer penalty. See? Not high enough in the chain to be a hairdresser, so now we invoke the shampooer penalty.
No, I would leave them something, but not $5 or $10.
I did think 10 was a bit much.
I mean,
I could see 5. I could see 5.
If you're in a fancy dancy
Squeaky.
If you're in a fancy dancy salon that you're getting even just minimal done is probably $50-$60.
The fancy salon where they give you the glass of wine?
Yeah.
That one.
Give
Okay.
you the coffee and
Yeah,
croissant and all that. if you're in one like that, you're probably paying $50 or $60 for the services anyway. So, you're paying your hairdresser that another maybe $10. To add another $10 for the shampoo person, not so much. And if you're going to like a discount place, like I used to go to like a Supercuts or a Haircore, where you got a wash, cut, and blow dry for like, I think it was like $15, $12, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not paying the shampoo person $10 for a $12 job.
All right.
I used to leave them like $1.
How about home service providers? Now, this one gets tricky, I think. Painters, plumbers, electricians, repair people. Those of you that have listened to our podcasts over the last couple of years know that you are going to hear me rail about the guys that have the yachts down the shore, tied up down there in Tom's River. And it's not the doctors and it's not the lawyers, it's the contractors that have got the boats. It's the plumbers, it's the electricians.
Now you've got a duality here, though. Now all of a sudden they're the bad guys for making money, and you begrudge them.
Well, they're making a hell of a lot of money in some cases.
Yeah, well,
not all electricians, not all contractors, but a lot of them. Let's face it, are living pretty damn sweet.
Yeah, but so should you penalize them and not tip them?
I am invoking the "you make too much money to begin with" penalty, Maureen.
Oh, see, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
It says for a home service provider, $10 to $20 tip.
If I'm contracting, say, for renovations on my house, say,
Yeah.
when we had the deck built and the driveway done and stuff, I don't tip extra for that.
Yeah, if you're spending $15,000 on a job, $20,000 and upwards, let's say you're putting an addition onto your house, you're going through maybe $100,000.
I don't tip.
I'm not going to tip for that.
But if somebody helps you out in an emergency,
Yeah.
Your heating system broke down and he came out on the fly and got your heat up and running, yeah, I tip for that. If, a pipe burst and the plumber comes running over to save the day for you, I tip for that. But, other than that, no.
Do you remember the time when we had the other house, we had a pipe break in the basement in the middle of winter, and the guy just had to come in and, replace a section of pipe, and he charged us, almost $1,000. For it, I remember. We were and he had us over the barrel.
Right.
Because we had to get the water back on, and he hit us for almost $1,000. He's got one of those boats down the shore that I told you. See, that's when you come into
get a tip.
When you come into work in our house. I would have given him a tip. Quit being a jackass. When you come into our house, if you're a contractor, you now have to sign a document that says, "I don't have a big boat down in La Valette." If you expect to be tipped, okay? Christ, I'm going to have all the contractors upset with me now. Let's see. Hotel, motel, housekeeping.
Yeah, I leave a little something at the end of our stay. I don't tip each night. I usually leave something at the end.
They recommend a few dollars per night and an extra $5 if you requested things like extra toiletries.
Yeah, but I leave it at the end, though. I don't put $5 every night out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
At the end.
When our 2-3 day stay, week stay, whatever it is, we tip them at the end.
Yeah.
Always tip, even if your service was a little bit less than you hoped for. If it's a restaurant or a diner, remember, it's not always your server that's at fault. Sometimes things get tied up in the kitchen. Things can get confused. Tips are people's livelihoods in many cases. Tip less if you had a bad experience, but still tip.
I would agree with that.
Right? And that is our guideline for tipping. And now it's time for
It's trivia time.
our baby boomer trivia.
All right.
So why don't you go first?
All right. This is in the news category, I guess it is.
Okay.
What iced beverage was the first thing John Glenn slammed back after completing his historic space ride? The first one when he orbited the Earth 3 times.
There was an iced beverage?
It's an iced beverage. A nice cold one.
How about a Coke?
Eh. Sorry. It's iced tea.
I was going to say that.
Well, you didn't.
I was going to say iced tea.
Week. Yay.
And then I thought, well, it was a Coke. Maybe they could have done like a commercial tie-in with it or something. Wow. Okay. I almost said Tang because that was the stuff that the astronauts drank.
I was trying to lead you to say like a beer or something.
Yeah. No, I knew it wasn't going to be a beer or something. Probably what he really wanted. But no, I could see iced tea. All right. Let me give you one. From the Life and Times, I guess this is, right? Yeah. How did Carly Simon's daddy make his money? And he had money.
This one. I think I know this one.
How did Carly Simon's daddy make his money?
Shall I just say it?
Go ahead.
He was the Simon of Simon & Schuster Publishing.
That is correct. That is correct. He was the Simon of Simon & Schuster. Yep. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Sonic Boomers podcast. We hope that you enjoyed it. We invite you to always comment down below if you are watching us on Facebook. Please give us a like if you're watching on YouTube. I think we're on. Also, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up because that helps us with the algorithms, and we get a better position
reviews,
from the
good
YouTube
comments.
folks. Yep.
And we also would love to hear what you think about tipping. Are you good tippers? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Pete?
Yeah. Do you think 10 to 15% is too much, too little? Is 20% too much? Is Maureen as tight as she sounds? And you can also write to us at thesonicboomers@aol.com. And so, until next week, I remain Pete Torriello.
And I remain Maureen Torriello.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks for checking us out.